We did great in 2024. We were right about energy stocks, we were right about the economy, and we were right about several stock splits. However, we weren't right about everything, and there were some things that I got wrong. So, what were the things I got wrong? What were some of the worst stocks that I invested in, that I talked about? And most importantly, what are the lessons that we can learn and apply in 2024? Because that is the biggest thing. You don't want to try and make the same mistake twice. And that is what makes you a better investor. Learning from your mistakes, studying your mistakes. Those are the best lessons. Let's go ahead and break it down. Now, I don't know what everybody else does on their channel or even in their portfolio. However, what I do at the end of the year and in the middle of the year, which I tell y'all all the time, is I sit down and I reevaluate my portfolio. And the part of that is what went wrong, what do we need to do, and how can I learn from it? And especially at the end of the year, I review some of my videos, and I review some of my stock picks. So I'm giving you background on what happens when I'm not talking to you. All right. So in my investors toolkit, which is the highest level of my investing program, I provide, and I've been doing this for the past 6, almost 7 years. I give all my students, you get lifetime access to this, by the way, give them a list of every stock that I am evaluating by hand, almost 20 stocks every single month. If you registered, you continue to get access to that. So I went back all year, month by month by month, saw what went well, and then went through and picked out like, hey, these did not go well. So these are those stocks. Now, before I get to that, I do want to say this, what went right? And also explain what we thought. Let's set the scene in terms of what we thought was going to happen in 2024, because that's important too. What we think is going to happen is how we invest. So rewinding the clock 1 year ago, remember, we thought the Fed was going to cut rates around 2 times. We expect that to happen much earlier in 2024. It ended up not happening. We got way more rate cuts at the end of the year. We knew that there was going to be a presidential election. That we knew. I don't think we really factored in who was going to win. I thought that was stupid to kind of factor that in. We did not know how Elon Musk was going to factor into that. That's going to come back into play later too. We thought that recession fears and inflation were going to play a bigger part into the entire economy, and how that was going to play into the stock market as well. That didn't really happen. Remember, in 2023, that was a big theme. When is the recession going to hit? When is the recession going to hit? And we came out and said, nah, I don't think the recession is going to be a thing. That is one of the things that we did get right. What we got wrong. Number one, I was wrong about Tesla. I get out here and look real foolish now, okay? Look real bad now, because I said that Tesla was one of the most disappointing stocks at the time. Keyword is at the time. Because at the time that I did that video, and we got receipts, was that compared to its peers, the way I looked at it was Google, Amazon, Meta, all of those stocks, the Batman stocks as we call them today, Broadcom, all of those. It didn't look good. It was down 20, 30, 40% or whatever it was, while everybody else was up 20, 30, 40%. I said, compared to those, you don't look good. One of them is looking unfamiliar. And that was true. That was true at that time. And then times changed. Now, what we could not have expected, because I tell y'all all the time, I don't have a crystal ball. I could not have expected that the stock was going to take off, though I did say in that original video that because Elon Musk is some sort of celebrity CEO and he has this meme factor, didn't call it meme stock, I said he has a meme factor. I said he and not the stock. But because he has this meme factor, that was going to hold. And it could have a bounce back, and it did, okay? But I didn't think that him pushing his money into the presidential race and having as much influence and sway on Washington today, I didn't expect that a year ago. I didn't see that coming. I don't think anybody really saw that coming, and seeing the influence that he has there. In fact, just a few weeks ago, he killed a funding bill in Washington, which is wild because he's not an elected official. I'm not going to get into too much detail there because it's going to be a bit of a tangent, but basically he is over some government efficiency cutting office or whatever, but it's not real office. It's weird. He said no. He told the president-elect, and the bill got killed and they had to renegotiate, which is wild. I don't know how that happens, but it did. How is this going to impact Tesla? I would assume for the better. But again, that is just a wild process to even think about. That was not on my mind when I did that video. And it wasn't on yours either. So if you are a Tesla fan, a Tesla stock fan, all well and fine. I still own the stock. I ain't sold it. Okay, I've been holding it for years. 5 years, in fact, at this point in time. But it wasn't, nobody thought that, okay? If you were on the Tesla was trash at that point in time, it was. It is not anymore, okay? And in fact, just like I said earlier this week, I bought more. So there, we are where we are. But I was wrong on Tesla. I'm gonna admit when I'm wrong about something. And for more things I was wrong about, stay tuned to the next one. And that is PACCAR. This is a stock that we talked a ton about in 2023. And then I carried it over into the first few months of 2024. And then we stopped talking about it for good reason. I am somebody who believes in momentum stocks, meaning when it does well, we hop on it. And when it starts to cool off, we hop up off that thing. And that's because PACCAR did start to cool off. In 2024, it only made 10%. I emphasize the word only because 10%, any double-digit return in the stock market is good. But the stock market made 24%, and PACCAR, prior to that, had made, I believe, over 20%. This was a money, we made thousands of dollars off of PACCAR. We got the receipts to prove it. You don't believe me? Go to the video where I showed you how I did covered calls and how much money I made. You see the receipts, you see my actual account, you see how much money we made on PACCAR, okay? So I thought, at least for the first few months of the year, that was going to continue. And what was a very, very good, consistent stock just slowly trickled off, and just, it wasn't that anymore. So we hopped up off it, which is good, but it wasn't what it used to be. I wanted it to be a very good long-term stock, and it just kind of fizzled out. What I think happened is that the market and our collective consciousness just moved from good solid stocks coming out of 2022 and 2023, just moved all to tech and AI. And that's just where we moved, and moved away from boring old manufacturing stocks. Because just looking at how the calendar went, 2022 was bad. People were looking for defensive, boring companies. PACCAR was that. That is what PACCAR was. Now that we are into AI, and you saw NVIDIA do what it did, and all kind of stuff, people flooded that part of the market and stayed there. So, hey, I'll move my money from PACCAR. I need something that's going to make more money now. So they sold. Or, you know, more people sold. Because, again, the stock is still solid, but ain't nobody worried about that company. So that's where people went. This one probably is the most shocking, at least to me. Lam Research Corp, I thought would have continued to do well. Because at one point, this stock was one of the top 10 or 15% of the S&P 500. They are in the tech space. They did do a stock split, which we did predict, which is crazy. We did an entire video of the top, we did a two-part video actually, because the first one did so well about some of the best stocks out there that we think are going to do a stock split. Talked about Chipotle, they did one. We talked about Lam Research Corp, they did one. And Lam Research Corp before that had done well. Then they did that stock split, and they split. They by split I mean fell apart. The stock is down 7% over the last year. And they say it's due to lower demand, but they expect 2025 to be better. Y'all can say what y'all want to say. I believed that this company was going to do well, I think all the way up into the first or even second quarter of 2024. No, I didn't believe in them. Actually, Intel hurts my soul, okay? But they are the new Intel for me. Okay, I didn't believe in them as much as I did Intel because I put too much money in Intel. Too much money in Intel, okay? But I did have money in Lam Research Corp. I'm going to come back to that because it is something I did to save myself. And it's something I keep telling y'all that you may want to consider doing. And we'll talk about that in the workshop as well. Workshop link is right here, okay? But we're going to come back to that because it is a technique that I tell y'all to consider. I don't know if y'all listen to me, but here's what it is. So, wrong about Lam Research Corp. Next one is what is called a false signal. And this is something that I have fallen for. And this is something that all investors have fallen for as well. And it is First Builders, or it's Builders First Source. BLDR is a stock symbol. If you have watched me and subscribed for more than a year, then you saw me in the first quarter of the year. Really, I would say probably February and March. I had really zeroed in on building manufacturers, particularly for homes. At that time, that's only, when you look back at stuff, most people don't look back at their mistakes. Let's be honest, a lot of people don't. You only have a snapshot of what you have at that time. And at that time, companies like BLDR were doing well. Problem is they didn't continue to do well, which is why we didn't continue to talk about them and hope that they were going to build back up. But if you look at a chart for a company like this, you will see it did take off. Things were great, and then they fell back down, and then they took back off, and then fell back down before the end of the year. So again, it was a false signal. I thought it was something because it wasn't the only stock in this category that was doing this. And it wasn't Warren Buffett, I don't think. I'll have to go back and see. But there were a few other billionaires and hedge funds moving to this space. So I thought there was something to it. Maybe there was, and it just didn't. Maybe we're all wrong. Maybe. But it didn't end up being what I expected it to be, and it absolutely fizzled out. It was down 13% by the end of the year. So what are the lessons here? What can we absolutely learn and apply in 2024? There are two major things. Number one, this is why you diversify. This right here is why you diversify. Tesla is what it is. Now, I told y'all earlier this week, and I've really been telling y'all every time I talk about Tesla, I can be unhappy about a stock and still own it. I told y'all 4 years ago now when I didn't like Amazon. I wasn't happy about Amazon. I still owned it. So I can complain about something and say, I don't like it. I wish things were better, but you're stuck in this portfolio. So it is what it is. Okay. But in terms of diversification, yeah, I still own Tesla. Yes, PACCAR still made money. So again, diversification here. Lam Research was down. First Source Builders was down. Even though I sold PACCAR, which I did tell you about at the end of the year. But I still had ANET, which was a recent networks, was up 89%. Still had Constellation Energy up 93%. Still had Walmart up 71%. Still had FICO up 72%. Still had Netflix up 93%. Okay. So even if we were to balance those things out, lose 13%, make 83%. Lose 7%, make 71% via Walmart. Okay, so those things do balance out. That's why you don't put all your eggs in one basket, because you do not know all the time whether or not that basket is going to be legit, even though you can have all the confidence in the world. Okay, because you could have asked me in March, do you think Tesla is going to be the best stock at the end of the year? Absolutely not. I would not have thought that. Lo and behold, look who's putting on the clown mask now, right? So again, you absolutely want to make sure you diversify. Number two, you need to come back and reevaluate your portfolio. Now, when you do it, you decide whenever it is you want to do it. Some people like quarterly. Some people like to do it just once a year. I prefer twice a year, because this is when I sold Lam Research Corp, because I noticed something in June. In June is when I came back and looked at my portfolio and said, something's off. Let me go and take my money, because I had made money in Lam Research Corp. I held it for a while. I cut the thing off then and said, hey, I'm taking my money. I'm going to hop off. Same thing with PACCAR, in that it was at the end of the year. I said, hey, I made a lot of money on this. Let's just go ahead and hop off. You guys saw when I sold PACCAR, we did a whole video about it. So, hey, I was doing these options. They called this at the end of the year anyway. I'm just going to take my money and go on somewhere else and do something else. Because what we thought at the very beginning of the year is not going to be the same thing come June of 2025. It might not be. It might not be. I'm sitting here thinking about what tariffs are going to be, thinking about what tax laws may or may not be. What if they don't pass any tax laws? What if they aren't, what we think they're going to be? What if the tariffs aren't tariffs at all and they don't pass anything in 2025? If it doesn't happen, then I might need to adjust my portfolio to reflect that. These are things that we will need to update, and I need to see, are the stocks that I thought were going to be good, are they still good? Are tech stocks still going to be good in 2025? I think so. I need to find out in June for me, right? And then we can see what we thought in June, is it still right in December? You need to figure out what that schedule is going to be for you. You can do it quarterly. I would not recommend monthly. I certainly wouldn't recommend weekly or anything like that, but you need to have a schedule and you need to make sure that you diversify. Speaking of diversification, 2 other things that you may want to consider. Got a workshop and we're going to talk about how to invest in 2025, what apps to use, what stocks you may want to consider, and how to do those diversification things and ways to protect yourself. Because yeah, 80, 90, 70% gains, those are, you know, that's what happened last year. Can't guarantee you what's going to happen in 2025 because that would be irresponsible. But there are ways to find good quality stocks and research them. It's about the process. It's about the process. And that's the thing you want to take with you in 2025. And also, you want to see what stocks might be good as well. If you want a shortcut to that, you want to check out these videos right here.